Hey there, guys. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Cerise Fairfax, coming at you from the north coast of the Dominican Republic, in a province by the name of Puerto Plata, and a municipal by the name of Sosua, and a little area called Los Chedomicos. It's the local area. Give me a shout if you want to come here to relocate, get a budget rental or a beautiful luxury villa, or if you're looking to buy land. And maybe a condo or a house. Today, we are going to talk about a true story that happened right here in the Dominican Republic, and it will definitely serve as a cautionary tale. A lot of men come here to the Dominican Republic to meet a lot of the beautiful women. I am one of the first people to say they are beautiful. They have beautiful faces, beautiful features, their hair, gorgeous. They take good care of themselves. They smell great. They like to dress nice. And I have to say, they know how to treat their men. However, do them wrong, and they're going to do you wrong. Even worse, they have that way of, I won't even call it revenge. I will call it retribution. Anyway, I'll tell you this much. This story just made me feel like I needed to tell it to you guys out there that do come to the Dominican Republic, for the ladies, and also for you ladies out there that know guys that come here to the Dominican Republic. So we're going to break it down like this. I never ever tell the names of the people in these cautionary tales that I tell you. So we're going to make some fictitious names. We're going to name one dude Chris and Christy. Christy and Chris, they met at the casino in Sosua, Coral Reef Casino. It is located in the blue building right off Sosua Beach. When you are sitting on Sosua Beach, you can't miss it. The blue building. They have a casino on the first floor there. They also have a little disco where you can go in and dance and enjoy the night. And so that's where they met. Oh yeah, by the way, here's some footage that I took on the beach of my dog. And this is Sosua Beach. Just thought I would show some random videos as I'm telling the story. Sorry, I digress. All right. So Christy, she was like she saw Chris and she was like, wow, he looks really unique. Now, a lot of these girls, yes, they will go for a guy that just looks good, for a guy that will treat them good, a guy that has money. But Chris, he was very different than the other men. And I say that because, for many reasons. One, he wasn't looking for a working girl. And Christy, she was a working girl. And he had money, and not only that, he lived here as an expat, but he did go back and forth to the United States often to, take care of business. Now, he really enjoyed just a real good woman on his arm, a solid woman that was going to be with him all the time. That's why he didn't go for the working girls. He didn't want a woman that came with any type of problems, or a man on the side, or a bunch of children, or just addictions or anything of that nature. He preferred the women that worked at the club. Now, of course, like I said, she was a working girl, but she was so beautiful that he was like, oh man, I like her. And this is the thing. He didn't know she was a working girl. He went up to her and he's like, hey, what's up? By the bar. And she said hello. They started to talk. Now, she didn't sell herself to him that night. She didn't give him a price. She wasn't working that night. So granted, that's why he didn't know she was a working girl off the bat. Most girls will be just like, oh yeah, hi honey, and they are literally promoting themselves. But she wasn't that night. And truth be told, she actually liked him as a person and not as a customer. So he said to her, hey, do you want to just leave here and go for a bite to eat somewhere? After they had a few drinks together and they talked a little bit. And she's like, sure. So the two of them, they left together. They went for a bite to eat on Pedro Clisante and they were chilling out. And he asked her, he's like, you know what? I can't believe you're not a working girl. And she didn't say she wasn't. But when he said that to her, she realized that she had to lie and say she wasn't. And she's like, oh, why do you say that? And he's like, well, I never seen you before, first of all, and I live here in Sosua. And second of all, you didn't try to give me a price. You didn't try to, get money out of my pocket. Nothing. You the way you're dressed, you look classy. Now, the thing about Christy is she works out of the casino, but she doesn't generally pick up guys either. She works more online. And she came here just during the lockdown. We had something like a lockdown. Well, we can't really call it a lockdown, but what we had was something called Operation Atlantico. And there was a change. And a lot of the women had to go from being on the street to being online. Now, when that happened, she left Punta Cana because they also went to Punta Cana, the police, the operation, and started to arrest people in Punta Cana. So she was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Sosua because high season is coming and I'm just going to rest up there. I'm going to do my thing online. There's going to be a lot of tourists coming and they're going to be good quality tourists because they're the guys that love Sosua, know their way around, rah, 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 all that stuff. Businesswoman thinking, right? So she gets up here and her plan is working out great. She's executing it well. She's not known as a working girl on the streets by the locals, by the expats, or by the police on the street. And so Chris is even stumped and he's like, wow, he's like, so what do you do for a living? And she said, oh, I work online. And he's like, oh, what do you do online? She said, I have an online business. And he said, don't tell me. If it's OnlyFans, that's cool, but tell me that you don't like work online, flashing yourself. And she said, yeah, it's OnlyFans. And he was like, okay, well, that's not so bad. Like, what do you do? And she said, nothing. I just show my bum and, that's about it. And he's like, well, you have a nice butt. He's like, you don't get gross with it, do you? She's like, no, it's only to make a little bit of money to put myself through school. And he's like, well, how old are you? Like, I thought you were about 35. And she said she was 31. And she said that she's going through school. She's trying to become a lawyer because she comes from a law family. All this is true. So he says, okay, well, that's not bad, So here in the Dominican Republic, a lot of guys and girls, they get passionate really quickly. Intense relationships can happen relatively fast, rapidly. And this relationship was no different. That night he took her home and she never left. And he was here on a month stint. So they were doing a lot together. Chris has a car here. Chris enjoys his life here. And, since she's working online and he knew what she was doing and he watched her a couple of times work on her OnlyFans, but she really did have an OnlyFans. And then she just wasn't answering her calls from her Bumble account, if you know what I mean, and answering her messages, going out on the stroll. Well, not the stroll, but going out to condos. So here she is. They're going out to dinners together. They're staying away from Pedro Clisante because of Operation Atlantico. They just didn't want the controversy. And so finally things start to open up. And Halloween is approaching. And so, he was back and forth. Well, Operation Atlantico happened in around June, July. And they were hanging hard. He left in August for an entire month and left her at his villa. That's how close they were. And she stayed at his villa while he was gone, very trustworthy. And then, he came back in September and they were back getting on good again. He left just for a couple of weeks in October. But like I said, Halloween weekend was coming. And here, Halloween weekend is the beginning of high season. And this is when a lot of tourists start to come. And mainly a lot of men. And Pedro Clasante usually gets very busy. And people from all around come to Sosua. Not usually Punta Cana, but this is what happened. So he's there on Pedro Clasante with her, and his friend comes up to him, and his friend says, "Oh, hey, Chris, how you doing?" And he looks at Christy and he says, "Hey, how you doing, girl? Long time no see." And she's like, "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And she tried to play it off. And he's like, yeah. He's like, "Well, what are you doing in Sosua?" And she's like, "Well, I'm just here, going to school, trying to get some things done." And she's looking at him like, "Please don't say anything." Like she looked like she was a deer caught in headlights. And then he looks at Chris and he's like, "All right, man, I'll, give you a shout later." He walks away and immediately he texts Chris and he's like, "Stay away from that girl. She's nuts." And Chris is like, "Why? Why do you say that?" And he's like, "Man, she's the craziest hoe I ever met." Chris is like, "She's not a prostitute." And the guy's like, "Yes, she is. She's crazy too. I'm telling you, stay away from her." And so Chris is like, "Okay." And he takes his buddy's word to heart, I mean, when someone tells you someone's crazy and, so now Chris at this moment, he turns around and he looks at Christy. Now he could have used more common sense, but he looked at her right away and he's like, "My buddy just told me that you're a working girl." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And he's like, "Well, he told me you are." And she's like, "I was a long time ago, but I'm not any longer." And Chris says, "Why didn't you tell me that?" She said, "Well, I just, I didn't feel like you would like it." And he's like, "When did you stop? I want to know all the truth. I want to know everything." And she's like, "Oh, that's another thing." The guy said to Chris, "She's still on Bumble. She's still on Bumble. I saw her crazy ass on Bumble." And so he said, "Are you still on Bumble?" And she was like, "No, I don't even have a Bumble account." And he's like, "You know what? I was really taking you seriously. I was really thinking you were different. And I'm sorry to ask you this, but if you can't show me your cell phone and if you can't show me that you have a Bumble app, then, and show me your Bumble app, then I'm going to have to ask you to leave." And she refused. And he said, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." And they got back to his villa that night. And he asked her again, "Are you going to show me your Bumble app?" She said, "No, I'm not going to show it to you because I don't have one." And he said, "Are you going to show me your cell phone?" She said, "No." And he said, "Well, you got to go because I'm not into working girls. I don't want that trouble around me. I don't want that type of lifestyle around me." Well, she was packing her stuff up quietly, and he went into the room and he said, "Listen, I have feelings for you. I really started to feel for you. And I just feel like if you're innocent, then just save what we got, whatever it is right here." She turned around, punched him in the gut with some type of knuckle thing that she got out of her bags that she was packing, kicked him to the ground, and started to beat him and said, "I hate men like you. All you do is judge. You're a judge. All you do is put people down. You don't know my life." And he said that he was out of breath. Now, this is a man who played football. He played sports all his life. And he said that whatever she punched him with just took the wind right out of him. And when he was down on the floor trying to get the wind out of him, she started to kick him in his balls, like in his man area. And he said he felt like the life was just leaving him. He felt like it was a deadly attack. So he was trying to crawl his way up and he couldn't get up, and she just wouldn't stop beating him. Finally, he just grabbed her, reached up, grabbed her by her hair, slammed her head onto the ground so hard. And then he just held her there. Then what he did as he was trying to get himself together, trying to get his breath back together, trying to get over the pain of being kicked so many times in the balls, which he did have to go to the hospital for. Afterwards, he dragged her out into the living room and he grabbed his cell phone and he called the police. Now, he's lived in town for a long time, so he had the number of a police officer that he knew very well. This police officer was not working on the street beat any longer because this police officer got let go of during Operation Atlantico. But this police officer knew some of the police officers that were on the new force, the new task force. So a bunch of people went to the villa. And when they got to his villa, they were looking out for him. Back in the day, sometimes the gringos, the foreigners, would be in trouble for hitting a girl or whatever. But since Operation Atlantico and since a lot of the girls have been displaced, this new task force, they're mainly looking out for the foreigners. And so a bunch of them showed up. They're knocking on his door. He doesn't live in a gated community. I mean, they're knocking on his front gate, but he doesn't live in a community. He has a front gate, and it's opened electronically. So he still has her, and she's trying to fight. She's trying to kick. She's trying to bite, but he's holding her out, and he still has her by her hair. Her hair, he told me, he's like, Cerise, I felt almost every single one of her hair follicles coming out of her hair. And she still, sorry about the notification in the background, guys. She still wouldn't stop fighting. She still wouldn't stop moving. She would have had all her hair ripped out. So anyway, he opened up the electronic gate. Boom. The police went right in. They grabbed her. They contained her and they took her immediately. He went to the hospital immediately and he got taken care of. He had to get 5 stitches on his forehead because she kicked him with a heel. And not only that, they gave him like an ice pack for down there, and they gave him some meds and stuff of that nature. And they took care of him. He has a headache till now, and it's been like about 2 weeks before Halloween that this happened. So, man, he told me, he said, Cerise, listen, this woman is crazy, but he won't show her photo because, he's scared. I won't show her photo either. He asked me not to show her photo, but he told me that if I see anyone with this woman to let the guy know. And on top of that, he told me to tell you guys, you know what? Just when you're taking a woman home to your house, when you're taking care of her and stuff, just make sure you really know everything about her before you get too seriously involved. He said he knew this before, and he's always lived his life like that here, but for some reason, he let his defenses down. And he thinks it was because, there weren't too many girls on the streets at the time Operation Atlantico was happening. And he thought to himself, well, there's no girls. So obviously she's not a working girl. So he really let his guard down. But what he told me to tell you guys is it's not worth it to let your guard down. Always be suspicious until you get to meet the girl's family, until you get into her phone and you read what exactly is going on with her and text messages between her and her family, her and her ex, her and her baby daddy, her and her friends. He said, get nosy and make sure that if this is a woman you're going to have in your life, you're going to take care of her, she's going to be your wife and be your longtime girlfriend, you got to know her inside and out. So there we go, guys. That's today's story time. Please take a moment to subscribe, hit that like button. Hey, listen, if you're coming to the Dominican Republic and you want a nice budget-friendly apartment, house, let me know. I'm your girl to find that out for you. If you're looking for a piece of land to build on, if you're looking for an already built condo, house, villa, anything of that nature, give me a shout. I have a great network system going on here in the Dominican Republic that I would love to introduce you to. And if you're just coming to chit chat and chill, sometimes I'm hanging out, let me know. If you would like a consultation because you want to move here and you just don't know yet, or if you want to come long term, like for a month or more, give me a shout. We can do a 30-minute consultation or an hour consultation, and we can discuss your concerns, your desires, your budget, what's the best for you, what type of areas are available to you, and so much more. Listen, please do me a couple of favors. They're for you. Be good to yourself because you deserve it. And also, remember to make the best of today because tomorrow is not promised. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I know YouTube suggested a lot of videos, but you clicked on this one and you stayed till the end. That makes you a real one. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. God bless. Huge hugs, loads of love, and big blessings.
Woke up to the sunrise, paint in the sky. Palm trees swaying like they're saying hi. Coconut water dripping down my chin. Sosua mornings, let the day begin. I live where I love and I love where I live. Every moment here's got something to give. The rhythm of the islands in my soul. Living a good life, feeling whole. Queen Cerise rules her island charm. Locals teach me peace with no alarm. Mango, sweet papayas in my hand. Learning their ways, I start to understand. I live where I love and I love where I live. Every moment here's got something to give. The rhythm of the islands in my soul. Living the good life, feeling whole. Dancing in the streets to the beat of the drum. Stories of the past from the old and the young. Traditions flowing like the waves in the sea. The north coast of Sosua, it's setting me free. Fishermen's boats coming back to the shore. Smiles all around, can't ask for more. This life's a treasure, a gift from above. In Sosua, I found a home to love. I live where I love and I love where I live. Every moment here's got something to give. The rhythm of the islands in my soul. Living the good life, feeling whole. I live where I live. Every moment here's got something to give.